Alright, so in the previous episode, I talked about where you should spend your resin efficiently. In this video, however, I'll be talking about the open world portion of the game and give you about 5 tips and information regarding exploring the world of Genshin. The first thing I want to talk about is, of course, what you can actually obtain depending on how much effort you put into exploring the map. So, personally, I farm my map every day, so I have a rough gauge on what you can obtain. Just take note that this information is excluding all the chests you get, all the Mora squirrels and all the quests, all the extra stuff, okay? So this is entirely on daily respawnable content. So in the extreme far end, if you were to wipe out the map like I do and kill all the mini bosses and even the smaller cluster of mobs, you will get, first of all, 70 to 90k Mora daily, depending on your world level. Personally, I'm at world level 7 and I get about 80 to 90k, and then you also get 18 to 22 character EXP per character. Note, this also depends on your world level, so the higher world level you are, the monsters actually give slightly more character EXP. So depending on your world level and your monster levels, your total character EXP might be slightly different. Now, the last thing is that if you actually kill all the bosses, you will get 1 to 4 purple artifacts if you are AR, I think 30 or 35 and above, right? So you get 1 to 4 purple, about 5 to 15 blue, and also 40 plus green/white artifacts. Other than those things, you also get plants and also weapon ores, but I did not include them in that list because they do not really respawn daily, so yeah, those are different things. So with those statistics that I showed you, is it actually worth clearing out your map? Now, clearing out the map takes about 3 to 4 hours personally, so it really depends on your composition and also how good your gear is. So personally, I take about 3 to 4 hours. So, if you are willing to dedicate like a few hours a day, the rough estimate that you are able to farm is about 60 resin worth of resources per day. For example, at world level 7, right? One Mora leyline gives 60k Mora compared to 80k, the 80k that you get from open world. And also one character XP leyline gives about 110 to 135k character EXP books that you actually have to spend Mora to feed your characters compared to 80k XP that costs nothing to gain. Now 80k is, of course, if your characters are not maxed, right? They are not capped at example 80/80. So my recommendation is that never ever hit your character EXP level cap unless it's for a quest. For example, your adventure handbook, there is one quest that requires you to hit level 80, or there are some quests that require you to hit level 70. Just do the very minimum of those and then keep the rest of your characters, especially the ones that you want to use for open world farming, below the character level cap, because keeping them below character level cap means they are able to gain character EXP while you are farming the open world. So other than the character EXP, you also get a decent amount of artifact fodder, which are normally obtained in artifact domains, which you have to actually spend resin to obtain. So technically, if you keep farming the open world and getting these fodders, you actually save quite a lot of resin. So knowing about all the rewards, if you are convinced and you want to try farming the open world like I do, then we can go to the next point. So earlier I mentioned about team composition. So after grinding for about a month, what I can recommend is that first you need 2 Nemo characters in your team for like CC and also the elemental resonance of movement speed. So out of all the current Nemo characters, I recommend Sucrose, Venti or Jean. You can possibly use MC if you are really in need for the second Nemo character for the resonance, but yeah, basically Sucrose, Venti or Jean. Now the second thing is to at least have one Pyro or one Electro in your team so that you don't have to keep switching your characters to fight certain types of monsters. I think that Pyro and Electro are the most flexible in the current open world. The third thing is to have at least one bow user in your team, because bows are useful for certain things like ruin guards and also to hit certain hilichurls on towers that can actually speed up your farming process. Next also is to have one ore breaker in your team, so like a claymore user or like a clee. You can also depend on a sword user, but you might have to do some drop hits to break some ores, which can take a little bit more time, but it is still possible. And the last thing is to have a healer in your team. You can go without a healer, but I advise a healer to save a little bit more time so you don't have to keep eating and you also don't have to teleport to a nearby statue to heal up. So that is my rough guideline. As much as possible, try to follow those points depending on which characters are available to you in your account. You can do a slight difference in composition, you might not have 2 Anemos, etc. But basically those are what made my run a lot faster, so try to follow as closely as possible. So once you have a proper team comp that you want to run through the map, the next thing you need to establish is actually a farming route that is efficient, that will bring you across the map in the least amount of time and in the most efficient way. So there are currently a lot of routes online that you can follow, but personally I have my own that I'm too used to, so if I use a different route, my rhythm will be probably, it will kind of spoil my rhythm basically, and then it will actually make me less efficient. So honestly, my advice for you is just find your own route that you feel most comfortable and efficient with. So in your first few runs, right, you'll probably be referring to an interactive map somewhere or following someone else's route, right? And then during your first few runs, you start to see like where the mini bosses are, where the monsters are, where the small little artifact spots are. So after a while, right, eventually you'll find your own personal route that you like to take, and then just follow with your own personal preference. I think that's the best, because at the end of the day you want to enjoy the game, so just follow the route that you feel most comfortable with. Alright, so as you go through your route, sometimes you see an extra group of monsters, sometimes you see some artifact spots that you didn't know about, then you slowly adjust your route until you come to a point where it all becomes very natural and you just plow through the map very easily without thinking. Now, there are certain things you need to keep in mind when you are going through your route. For example, the first thing you need to keep in mind is that you need to kill everything as much as possible. Don't skip mobs just because they are only 1 or 2. Just spend that extra few seconds and kill them, because at the end of the day, they actually do add up a lot in the long run. And also, along the way, just pick everything, look out for shiny spots, all the, Mora spots, mining spots. Just try to cover as much as you can along your route. The next thing is to plan efficiently in your skill usage, like your elemental skills and your elemental bursts. Like if you know you're gonna approach 3 Abyss Mages or 4 Ruin Guard Snakes, just try to save up your burst skills and your important skills basically that could speed things up. So basically just plan ahead and use your skills efficiently. Also, along the way, just kill animals if it is convenient, break boxes, and get all the ingredients needed for cooking. And also try to make some stamina food to speed things up. Lets you sprint longer, climb without using as much stamina. It will definitely make your run a lot more efficient. So the last point that I want to cover is basically being diligent in this open world farming. Like, be as diligent as possible, because the more days that you actually do this routine, right, each time you clear a map, you actually save resin, and resin is literally the resource that helps you progress in the game much faster. So it is completely okay to skip like a day or two if you really don't have enough time or if you really don't feel like it. But in this video, I just wanted to let you know what is possible. Like every day it is possible to obtain this amount of Mora, this amount of character EXP. So ultimately it's up to you to plan your farming and how far you want to bring your game. So some statistics to show you. Free resin daily is basically 180 currently. So based on my calculations, right, the amount that is farmable in terms of resource is about 60 resin, right? So basically if you clear out your map, you actually have 30% more resin than anybody else that doesn't do this open world farming. So if you continue doing this every 7 days, you clear your map, you can use 420 resin in other places like in domains and other stuff or other kinds of resources. And if you actually do it for a whole month, you actually have 1680 resin extra to do other things like artifact domains and talent book domains, etc. So as you can see, those that are really dedicated, I'm sure many Chinese players are doing this. In the long run, you will start to realize certain characters have a gap in terms of resources, and these are the people that actually spend the few hours every day to farm the open world. So in future, if you see some people and then you wonder, hey, how come this guy has so much resources? I mean, it's basically because they spend their time grinding the open world. So that's all I wanted to tell you guys in regards to open world. I'm sure many Chinese players are doing this. I don't really see much of the Western community doing this. I just wanted to share it. In the next episode, I will probably go in depth on how to build your characters in terms of gear, your weapons, your artifacts, and also team compositions, stuff like that. But for now, if you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments, or you can ask me on my daily stream on Twitch where I actually do my open world farming, so you can actually see my personal route that I take. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next episode.